Hey peoples, I have the most interesting video for you today. Today we're going to learn how tofu is made, and no, I don't know either, so we're going to find out. I am next to some weird train station and a bunch of storage units where I believe my friend vegan Ivanych is making his stuff, so let's go find him. I think it's this door. Oh, there they are! Hi! How's it going? I've been vegan for 8 years and somehow still have not been to a tofu production factory until this point. So I have no idea how tofu is made. I never made it myself. Yeah, for my American friends, I forgot to mention this video was filmed in Russian clearly, so I had to dub it. So I'm going to translate everything I say and everything Vegan Ivanych says about the process, and all of the questions that I have potentially missed, you are welcome to ask in the comments. So let me put on the robe and let's go check out the tofu production process. The number one question everybody asks is the soy GMO? No, the soy is not GMO. It is actually grown in Russia in Krasnodarsky Krai, which is where the Olympics was, if you have followed the Sochi Olympics. All of the soy in the world that is grown for human consumption is non-GMO. The majority of the soy that is grown in the world, including all of the non-GMO soy, is grown for livestock feed. So if you don't want to throw all those GMOs and potentially harming hormones into your body, maybe stop eating meat, because that is the only way any stuff from GMO soy can get into your body. 99% of the participants of the soy market in the world in 2024 are businesses connected with livestock market. If you're vegan, you've probably heard this argument by meat eaters that are like, hey, because of all the soy that you guys eat, there's deforestation. Well, no, deforestation is because all of the animals that you guys eat, that soy is grown as food for. Only 2% of all soy in the world is grown for human consumption. Can you imagine? Ivan says that the soy that they get is always made in Russia, so there's actually a law that prevents them to use imported soy for human products. This soy in particular was grown in Krasnodar, which is where the Olympics was, in case you remember the 2014 Olympics. It's grown in nice and sunny climate. It's high quality. Ivan says they always get high quality, high protein soy from the manufacturer. So it's actually nice for me to know that you can get different amounts of protein in the product. That is very interesting. I hope it results in more kilograms on my barbell. Ivan actually gave me a little bit of the soy, so I try to make soy milk myself at the house, and it worked. It was really delicious. After receiving the soy, they sort it to get rid of all the stuff and flakes. Then they soak the soy for 12 hours and let it sit. It has to be with the peel. You cannot peel it because the peel has special fermentation products that are needed to make tofu. After 12 hours of having been soaked, soy would have swollen about 2 or 3 times, and then it's ready to go into the grinder. I'm asking Ivan, what is this huge ass blue container? And he says it's distilled water in case they have government water shutdowns, so the production is not stopped by anything. They just have enough water in case. The factory always has 2 metric tons of water in case. Alright, this is soy that has been soaked yesterday, so now he's going to put it into the grinder. Look at how much bigger it is. And if you pay attention closely, there is swollen soy and there is the peel. And the peel is actually needed for the soy milk to preserve. There are certain components that help fermentation. He's not making tempeh here, unfortunately, but I wonder if he would use the peel if he makes tempeh. In case you guys know, please write that in the comments. I would be very, very curious. It is time to grind it. There are various stones inside the grinder machine, so he's going to turn it on and then turn the water on so that the water washes out the protein from the soy and separates the protein from the fiber. So the fiber is basically trash, unfortunately, because there are no local businesses that could use the fresh fiber. It doesn't store. You either need to freeze it or make something out of it right away, like dog food or cattle feed, but unfortunately they have to dump it. The vegan food that I got for my dog actually is made out of soy, and after I made soy milk, I tried to just boil the fiber with some coconut milk and feed it to my dog, and she was a huge fan. She really, really liked it. So I wish there was a food production company for animals that could use this. Maybe in the next few years. So you see the fibers being dumped. And the protein is being washed out into the container on the left side of Ivan. There is the soy milk that is going to be pumped into a huge, huge boiler and boiled. Yes, all of this milk. Nice and foamy. After it is being boiled, we drain it from excess fiber and add the coagulant. For soy milk to become tofu, they add calcium chloride. It is inexpensive, it adds calcium to the tofu, and it makes it solid so that the press can get rid of the excess liquid and make tofu pressable, cuttable, make tofu into cubes. You know what I mean. You'll see in a second. This is a very similar process of making cottage cheese out of cow's milk. So for people who are like, oh, tofu is so different nutrition, less protein, blah, 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 it's actually the same amount of protein per glass of milk, and tofu has a similar amount of protein as any cottage cheese. You can see that it even looks like cottage cheese, like the yellowish water is going to sit on the top and the high protein soy is going to collect on the bottom. So they are going to pour this mixture into the press here in a second. Of people making tofu at home. They used to make it at home, right? I presume calcium chloride wasn't discovered right away. So Ivan says you can add anything that is going to coagulate. For example, citric acid, you can squeeze a little lemon juice that is going to change the taste of your tofu, but in case I wanted to make tofu out of my soy milk at the house, I could just squeeze some lemon juice and be done. Unfortunately, without the vacuum seal, tofu goes bad very quickly, so does soy milk, which is why not only is it time consuming to make it at home, but it also only lasts for a day or two. Each tofu press makes 48 pieces of 200-gram tofu blocks. So since they have two presses, they make 96 pieces of tofu, 200 grams each, that are ready to be vacuum sealed. Before 2022, Ivan used to make tofu all the time. The factory literally did not close, even at night. Now, they make tofu per order. For example, I ordered tofu online. So he starts the press next day and ships the tofu by the end of the day. I spent about an hour and a half at his production, and the tofu was already done and sealed and ready to be sent. So it doesn't take that much time, but it's really sad how much less the production has gotten since 2022. Ivan says tofu production is very seasonal. For example, in the summer, people not only travel so he doesn't get as many regular customers ordering, people also just eat more fruit and vegetables and kind of forget about the protein, which is shocking to me. How can you forget about the protein? But yeah, also I asked him about the prices. How do the prices for tofu compare to meat products? So the potential new vegans who are still price shopping and they look at the meat and the fish and other non-vegan items that of course have been subsidized by the government, and tofu that is handmade, locally made, and they see that the price is more expensive, are they less likely to buy? Even if you're still price shopping and comparing vegan products to non-vegan products, you should still remember that the amount of waste vegan food creates is incomparable to the amount of waste that the meat industry and the dairy and the fish industry creates. You imagine you need to feed the cow for like 2 years, give it water, give it shelter. How much energy is spent on that? Subsidies for animal agriculture, egg and dairy industry in Russia in 2024 have been between 50 and 70%. That is insane. Not even talking about the fact that cows have been raped, to be forcefully inseminated, to then get pregnant and produce milk because they make milk because they're mothers, not because they're cows, and then their babies are taken away. And none of that happens when you make tofu. You have just a couple people, and in a day, they can make tofu to feed like a district of a city. So I asked Ivan, why is tofu that much more expensive than the non-vegan alternatives? We usually say vegan alternatives. Let's say the non-vegan alternatives of our decent protein. He says, first thing, we need to have the demand. And there's not nearly as much demand because Russia is more Europe than Asia. In terms of eating soy products, people are not familiar with soy. People are only now starting to get familiar with like alternative milks. And even then, it's some cool hipster trend instead of something that is good for you, good for health, and better than dairy. And tofu, unfortunately, suffers the same fate. All the vegan protein products suffer the same fate. Sadly, the soy reputation has been ruined during the Soviet Union because people were not educated about the benefits and the amount of protein and calcium in soy. But soy had to be added to sausages and other products made out of meat, kielbasas, pate, etc. And people tried to seek something that was made 100% out of meat rather than quote-unquote with additives or with fillers. It was considered like a nasty filler just because people wanted pure meat. People thought if they were paying for sausage, it should only be meat and they can put vegetables on the side. They did not want anything else in there just because they did not understand what soy was. So let's compare prices, and this actually will shock you. A 400-gram package of tofu made in Russia, Voronezh, given the fact that salaries here are like about $500 a month, that's like considered a good salary. 400-gram piece of tofu is 297 rubles, which equals about $2.93. So let's say $3, okay? And the same amount of tofu, 396 grams or 14 ounces, very similar, is $1.89 at like Sprouts, which is not even the cheapest store. I can get at the Asian store and get that same tofu in a big container, half price. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? It's $1 cheaper. It is 50% cheaper. That is insane. And you don't need me to compare the salaries in Russia and in the United States. Or maybe you can compare with the UK if you're watching this from the UK. That would be very nice. If you live in the other part of the world, let me know how much a 400-gram piece of tofu is, or 14-ounce piece of tofu is in your country. I would be really curious to compare. The production itself is not very expensive if you consider raw materials because you just need the coagulant, soy, and water. But you have to buy the equipment, rent the place, renovate it, and hire the people to produce and package the soy. Anyways, here is our ready-made block. Let's vacuum seal it. As this tofu is almost done vacuum sealing, I'm almost done dubbing this video. Please let me know how you like the dubbing versions. You know, I always make videos in English when I can, but I just did not feel just wasting Ivan's time and recording everything twice because I have already made this video in Russian for my Russian channel. That is Vegan Powerlifter. You're welcome to subscribe if you speak Russian. I am so excited to eat this block of tofu for lunch. Man, it's gonna be delicious. Like, subscribe, and please share this video with people who are still stigmatizing soy products. It is very important for vegans and non-vegans to know how tofu is made.